now that we have some drum patterns and our chord progression, we're going to add some bass. I have replaced my 4 on the floor kicks just with the kick and hi-hat pattern, just to give myself something to play to or to, program to. I've got my keys and I have a bass line that I've worked on just a little bit. But first I want to talk again about what notes are within our key and our scale. So we're in A minor. Our chord progression is A minor over G because we put G in the bass, E minor and D minor. So if we operate from that basic rule of thumb that the bass plays the lowest note in the chord, in this case, we're going to get into a little bit of trouble because G is not really our root note. It's A. But in any case, let's get to that, and we'll get to that when we get there. I always like to kind of show a basic hack. Well, first of all, I have a bass track, and I have the synth bass clicky D&B, which I always find a good working starting point for electronic music. I may change it. In fact, I will change it. What I sometimes like to at least start off teaching is that if I highlight this clip and option click and drag it down to duplicate it, I could go in here and cut out all of my higher notes and be left with my root. And while that might not, in some sounds, that might be too high pitched, I'm not sure it is with the clicky D&B, but let's just see. Okay, now listen to that first note. That G just doesn't sound quite right with our progression. So if we take that G, even though it's in the chord, it's not the root note. It just doesn't sit as our tonic. So if we take that G, so hopefully you can hear that. It's not that it's a bad note. It's just not where I want it to be. Okay, so in this instance, let's see what happens if we lower it. Okay, I do kind of like it better down there. This note is getting kind of low, but we want that beefiness of bass. Okay, so this works. If we were to put in our kick drum, but it's boring. This note is far too long, in my opinion. It doesn't move. It doesn't help the beat move. So what could we do? We can do any number of things. And remember, again, we can also add notes from within the scale. So one thing I noticed, and I mentioned, this note is way too long. And what if we cut this in half? All right, I don't like where it's sitting there, but like, what if we move it over? Okay, now I can see where I'm getting towards what I had already created here. So let's just move that over, see what happens. Okay, now what other notes could we put in? Let's see what happens if I just drop that in there. I don't mind that. A D, I can always put in an octave. That's offbeat. I'm going to come back down to the D. Okay, and because this is sitting on the D, I could do something along the lines of now, something I like to do, and it would be called like a passing note, or a note that we're like walking back up to the beginning note of our pattern, or our progression. So with drums, I like it better there. Okay, so there you kind of have a basic bass line. We are using different notes within the key, within the scale, to kind of get us a little bit more interest. What did I end up doing down here? There's things I like about my new one. Okay, so really, the bass is there to kind of hold down the bottom. It's there to support the chords. Remember that for the most part, a good rule of thumb is that the bass plays the lowest note within of the chord, unless, of course, you're doing an inversion like this, at which point we really want the root of the chord where we started. So in this instance, our main changes, when the chords in the piano change, we're playing A, E, and D. And in between, we're choosing notes from within the scale. And we are thinking about what notes will sound good going up to the down, or walking up back towards our one chord. Now I have two basses going. Okay, make a bass line.